So we got a new neighbor the other day. This was maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Not good.
So we actually do not share any walls with her. She's in the building right across from us, but she's also not even in the door across from our door. She's to the left of that. I would not have even have known that she moved in except for the story that I'm going to tell you.
Oh dear.
So we're at home watching TV in the evening, and someone knocks on the door. I answer it, and it's this young woman, basically our age, and introduces herself. She tells us her name, and for the life of us, neither of us can even like recite her name back to her. She looked Indian, but she might have been Pakistani. I don't know. But in any event, this is maybe unnecessary details that I don't even know what her name actually is, even though she told me like five times, and we still don't know what her name is. And she said, "Oh, I'm just moving in. I'm trying to put stuff back together, like shelves or whatever, and I realized that I need a screwdriver, and I was wondering if you guys have a screwdriver that I could borrow." And I said, "Oh yeah, sure, of course." So I go to my toolbox, and I don't know what size screwdriver she needs, so I give her both of my larger screwdrivers. This was in the evening. I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock or something like that. And she tells us, "I'll come by tomorrow morning and drop it back off." And she leaves, and the next morning comes and goes, and she did not return my screwdrivers.
I knew this was gonna come.
So I'm like, okay, well, no big deal. It was maybe a bit of a stretch to bring it back the next morning, anyways. Probably trying to get to work or whatever. So I kind of thought she'll just bring it back tomorrow evening. So 24 hours. But 24 hours comes and goes, and she does not bring back my screwdrivers. Another day comes and goes. So we've
Oh.
now reached the 48-hour window. So this is when Emma and I begin discussing, at what point did you go over and inquire about these screwdrivers? What is when someone tells you, "I'll bring this back the next morning," and 2 days have passed? Is that a long enough time to where it's appropriate to go back over and knock on their door and be like, "Hey, where the hell's my screwdriver? Which you said you were going to give me, yesterday." I made the judgment call that it was appropriate to go over and inquire about my screwdrivers.
Right.
And playing into this was the fact that actually we legitimately needed the screwdrivers for something.
There you go.
And so I go over and knock on the door, and she doesn't answer, but someone else does. This gentleman answers the door.
What's his name?
I don't know what his name. He did not say his name. He did not say his name.
Oh
He said
really?
he said, "Oh, I don't actually live here. I'm just a friend." Actually, he didn't say he was a friend. He said he was visiting. He said he did not live there. And I asked him, "Do you see my screwdrivers? Can I?" Yeah. And he said that, "Oh, she's in the shower." And I said, "Okay, well, when she gets out of the shower, it's not a big deal. Like, you can just wait till she gets out of the shower, and if she could come drop them off." So this was in the evening, again, maybe like 6 or 7 or something like that. And the rest of the evening comes and goes, and we go to
Oh.
bed having no screwdriver. So then another 2 days passes.
Wow.
So we're now going on like 4 or 5 days that I've now loaned this person out these screwdrivers. And this is so annoying to me, almost because of how dumb it is. Because they're just screwdrivers. This is not like a valuable thing. So I realize that it's like lower stakes than letting someone borrow something that's like more expensive or whatever. The fact that they're just cheap screwdrivers. But in my mind, it's like, it makes it more ridiculous. Because if it was like some expensive piece of equipment that someone had to borrow, you could understand like They haven't been able to get their own one. But with a screwdriver, it's like, why don't you just go buy a screwdriver? They're like, what, like $1 or $2? And it's good to just own some screwdrivers.
Oh, so this is I kind of figured the direction you were going, and knowing the person's background, ethnicity is key, because this is a brown person thing.
So the preface to this, I guess, assuming that any people actually listen to this who don't know who we are, which might be a big stretch, but you are, would you describe yourself as ethnically Indian?
Yes,
Who was born and raised in South Africa and then eventually moved to the United States and now currently lives and works here.
that is correct. I remember loaning things to people and having them keep it so long I forgot I owned them and having to buy a new one. Other times where they had it so long and they'd forgotten that I'd given it to them or loaned it to them, that I have to borrow it back.
Are you
And
serious?
I did. Yeah. And when I did, the person's like, "Oh, can you give me back my whatever it is?" I'm like, well, hang on. This is mine in the first place. The concept of time is just not real. For like, did she have an accent?
No, she didn't. She did not.
Oh, okay. That's even more interesting. Because typically, and this is true for any like Africans as well, most non-white people, where if I say, "Oh, I'm having this dinner at 7 o'clock," if I told you, "Greg, I'm having a dinner at 7, please come over," what time would you get to dinner?
If this was a normal person,
It's me.
I would try to come over at 7. But if it's you,
Yeah.
I know that it's probably more like 7:30. This was especially painful. This was especially painful during Isha's wedding
Oh yeah.
in Mexico.
That's what I'm
Because
kind of referring to, right?
that was when you were at your most ridiculous, I think, when everyone was.
So during that trip, someone else was with me that was the time constraint.
That is a fair point.
It drove me nuts so many times. We got invited to a wedding, one of her friends' weddings, and they were so late. When I went to pick them up, and the wedding was in Dayton, that we left. Like, it's 3 hours. I think about 2 to 3 hours away. The time we were leaving was the time the wedding was starting.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, my insides were just churning. I was like, I don't even want to go anymore. There's no point. Like, it's your friend. We're going to get there, look like idiots.
That is so bad that I think I would feel the need to fabricate a story when I eventually got there.
See, it was so repeatable that I would say, if I was planning something, and in order to get people to be on my same schedule, like I remember one time we were supposed to go to dinner, and we were meeting some other people as well. Let's just say the dinner was planned for 7. I had a snack, or like had like something to eat at like 6:30 to 7, because most people only arrived 8:30 to do this dinner thing. So by that time, you have to get something to eat in order to go to eat, because it takes so long. You're gonna be hungry again. But like the concept of time, it's so annoying. Like that, it just drives me crazy, because there's only a few people who are like brown and take consideration for other people's time and belongings. But yeah, most of it, especially it's especially bad at weddings, because then a lot of the older people get involved, and most of them are pretty bad when it comes to time.
Yeah, my family has this is a source of conflict at times, because there are certain family members who have a very different concept of time than others.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times. This is a pro tip. If you've got a situation like this, there are times where certain people have been told a different time to meet
Oh yeah, I've used that tactic before.
than other people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Although that does have some ramifications if because you're basically telling, hey, get ready by 12 so you can get where you need to be by the real time limit of 2 o'clock.
You have to you really have to know that the person is going to for sure be late. You don't want to. You do have to. You have to have a feel for how late because you don't want the person to end up being there early.
Yeah.
Because then you're just gonna. Not only will you upset them, but then you also like ruin the trick here, and potentially make them suspicious of further
Yes.
things in the future.
Uh-huh.
So you don't want to abuse it, but if it can make up an extra I think a half hour is a pretty safe fudge.
Mm-hmm.
I think for most people. So back to the screwdriver.
Oh yes, yeah. So you're not getting that back.
So now we've reached like the 48-hour window.
And another a follow-up encounter as well.
Right. I went over there, talked to someone, had it established that they would bring it back that evening. Then went another 48 hours. Still no screwdriver. So then we're talking again like, so what's the appropriate length of time to go back again? And really it was just based on the precedent that we had already set of 2 days. We went 2 days the first time, I guess just another 2 days as an appropriate checkup time again. So we were actually leaving to go, I don't know, go to the movies or something like that. And I was like, well, while we're out here, let's try and stop by and see if they're home so we can get back our screwdrivers. And the way that the building is set up, we're both on the first floor, but the building is on a hill. Like the way that our building is on the hill, we have like a balcony. So nobody can creep outside our windows.
Which is nice.
Which is nice. But you can creep outside their windows because they're on the first floor.
They're on the other side.
They're on the other side. They're on the first floor facing the parking lot. And
so were you creeping?
So
is that what you're saying?
Well, I did the last checkup to like inquire about the screwdriver, so it makes sense to have her do the next one. Because I don't know why that makes sense, but it just intuitively just makes sense, right? That the same person shouldn't do it if possible to make it seem less, kind of aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would agree.
I think it's also like, it's like just so the household item is missing or like is at large, and you've taken your stab at it, and now it's time for the next person in the household to take their stab at it, and then so on, and then you kind of go back and forth until whoever wins.
Since she was knocking at the door to ask about this, I decided I was going to go around to look in through the window.
Oh my god!
So
what time of day was this?
It was still daylight. But it was like in the evening. So I wasn't standing like a foot outside the window. I was in the parking lot, but I could see in. I wasn't in the grass. I was technically in the parking lot where it's normal to be, parking and walking or whatever. But I was standing such that I could see in because I'm like, here's what was going on in my head. As her knocking,
you were making sure that
her knocking and then getting ghosted. She knocks and then they don't answer the door. So my
they see who it is, and then
right, they're like, oh shit, this person, I'm supposed to give them back this thing, and then they just don't answer the door even though they're home, because that's something I would do basically. If someone knocks on the door and I don't want to answer the door, I just don't answer the door. I just pretend like I'm not there. To counteract that, I went and looked in through the window, figuring I would see them go to the door to check who it is, and then if they didn't answer, I would know like they're playing us. Mm-hmm. So I go around to the window and I'm looking in, and she ended up answering, and we were able to get back the screwdrivers.
Wow, that's good.
So she answers the door. I walk back to the door. We get our screwdrivers, and then start walking back towards the parking lot to actually go to the car. And I noticed that she had closed the blinds.
Yeah.
So
When you were standing looking at the window, were you pretending to be on your phone?
no,
Or
I was just standing there staring. Why even, I feel like I didn't need to, I didn't need to pretend. Well, that's the
Wow.
for all I know.
That's really
So it's clear. It is clear to me. I think it's safe to say that she saw me looking in, and that's why she closed the blinds. And what
yes.
this means to me is, it's possible that the only reason she answered the door was because she saw me looking in.
Yes.
It is not outside the realm of possibility that I still did the right thing, and that she
You
could
should
have.
follow up with her and ask her. Say, hey, if you didn't see me creeping, would you have opened the door?
So let's say you're in my situation, and let's just grant that this girl is indeed Indian, and you are familiar with cultural things having to do with extended borrowing times or whatever. You, which is not something I said. You said, and you're allowed to
Uh
say
huh.
because you're brown and you're Indian, and
Yeah.
you were born in Africa, so you're allowed to say these things. I'm not the one saying them, to be clear. Because I have a prediction here. You can tell me I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like you would just say, "Well, I guess I have to get new screwdrivers." I feel like you would never ask for them back, and you would just lose them.
No. If it were someone I knew, like if I was borrowing them to a friend or someone who I knew
No, but this is
for a long
someone you don't
time,
know. I want this. This is the exact Put yourself in my exact situation. It's like a stranger.
yeah, I probably wouldn't have waited as long, to be honest.
Oh, you wouldn't have even have
Uh,
made it 2 days.
no, no, I would have gone back or left a note or something because it's like, hey man, where's my stuff? You said you were gonna bring it in the morning, which now you're a liar. And the longer the time, the more they're gonna think, hey, this is my screwdriver now, and they're just gonna keep it. If it were a friend, I'd probably waited a little longer.
See, if it was a legitimate friend, there would have been no concern because I would have known no matter what that I
Right.
was going to get it
Yeah.
back, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
It was precisely the fact that it was a stranger who I don't know who borrowed it.
So I probably if it happened, say today, and they said, oh yeah, I'll bring it back tomorrow, and tomorrow doesn't happen, then by that very next day, yeah, I'll have knocked on the door, left a note, and then each day after that, followed up.
We had a whole discussion about this over here in our apartment when this was going down. Of like, is 2 days too soon? Are we being unreasonable here by 2 days later asking for this screwdriver back? Screwdrivers, I should say.
While you were looking through the window, did you happen to notice the shelves that were put together or still?
It's empty. The living room is empty.
Okay.
We did not see a single thing that required a screwdriver in the living room. It's possible that all of the things that needed to be assembled were in her bedroom. I suppose that's possible, but
I don't like that people would I take something and then forget to return it or just not treat it the same way that because would you do that?
no.
And not everybody shares that. Yeah, it's just odd.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfect person. And it's possible I could borrow something and then forget to bring it back
Mm-hmm.
and be like, oh, shit, I forgot to drop that off. Because I forget to do things. But after the person would come back and ask about it, I would give it to them right then and there
Right
and
there, yeah,
apologize. Or if I was in the shower and my guest answered the door and then told me, hey, these people stopped by asking for the thing, I'd be like, oh, I better go do that.
yeah, right away. That
I
same
wouldn't
time.
forget about it another further 2 days.
It's always kind of awkward with a neighbor because you want to have good faith, and then you don't want to make your neighbor mad because they can make your life kind of miserable. Are there items that if you would borrow them to someone or loan them to someone that you'd just say, I guess I'm out. Let me just go buy a new one.
I cannot envision anything like that. The only thing that I would say it's gone it's oh, I gave it to them and I'm not getting it back, would be something which is consumable, which by definition you would not get back.
Yeah.
The whole agreement of it being a borrowing situation, of it being something that would not be consumed, like, oh, do you have any flour? Because I'm supposed to be making this thing, and oh, I forgot to buy flour. Do you have like a cup of flour that I could borrow? Okay,
Yeah.
take a cup of flour. No big deal. It's yours. I can't
Because even
I can't envision anything of like anything that I would just abandon.
yeah, because even if you borrow like ingredients for baking or cooking, just to be nice, you'd get like offer something like it's like some sort of peace offering. Like if you were baking a cake or baking muffins or something, and you ran out of whatever sugar or flour, you'd save like a cupcake to give your neighbors. Like, hey, thanks for letting me use this. I like to use like the little kid analogies when dealing with like social situations, like the playground thing. Like if you're sitting in a classroom and someone in the classroom needs a pen or pencil, and you loan them one. I remember so many times not getting that pen or pencil back, and it's like, what the heck? It's like everyone just does what they want, and it's the same thing with a screwdriver. It's like, hey, where's the screwdriver?
Pens and pencils. I think pens and pencils are one of the few things in that sweet spot that I was just describing where it's like it is not a consumable thing. Like after they use it, it will still exist, but it is conceivable because it's such a cheap enough thing that you usually have a number of them. You would just say, well, whatever. They can just keep the pen or the pencil.
Yeah.
However,
Now,
I have certain pens
there you go.
that I am not willing to let people borrow.
Yes.
And there are other pencils and pens that, okay, sure, you can keep it, whatever.
When I was at work, I used to carry like two sets of pens, so to speak. The one was like the really nice one that I used, and it happened so much where if someone needed a pen, I'd give them this one, because the one time I didn't have that, or before I started carrying this extra pen, sacrificial pen, I gave them my nice one, and the person pocketed it, and I was like, oh no, hang on. We get that pen back in, and they're, oh, I thought you didn't need it. It's like, what is going on? Am I the only person here that thinks that's weird? Just oh yeah, here's my pen. You can use it, and then they just keep it because it's like, oh, this is nice. So I carry around that other pen, and I don't know how many times I've replaced it because someone would just keep it. And each time it got replaced, like someone would take it, I'd try to get a cheaper looking pen, or like just a pen that if you had this pen, you wouldn't even use it because it was so bad. But if you needed a pen, you'd still like the worst pen ever. It's still better than no pen.
You know what you could do is like at the doctor's office where you tape a string to the end of it, and then at the end of the string,
giant flower or something.
Right. Oh yeah, that's a classic, right? You buy like a plastic flower, like a giant fake flower, and then you tape the stem to the pen. Of course, then you'd have to carry it around though. Is the only issue with that.
I think the chain would work pretty good. I'll just chain it to like something on me. Another funny thing about like borrowing things, or even just sharing, like you talked about consumable items like food. If you share some of your food, and then the person just keeps eating it. You ever encountered something like that? Like if you go in with some friends to like Chinese food, you get a few dishes and then share it. I have done it at work and whatever else, and then the item you get happens to be like the star, and then you're like, yeah, everyone like have some of this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really good. And then they proceed to take more and more until you're left with nothing.
For our listening audience that we have here, there was a person who we went to college with, who was in our major, who was notorious for stealing other people's food.
Multiple offenses.
Many offenses. And what made it especially bad was this person would have an opportunity to like pitch in, like, hey, do you want to get in on this? Like we're gonna buy whatever to share. Oh no, I'm good. Thank you. I don't need anything. I'm fine. And then an hour later, when the food shows up, do you think that I could get in on this
For free.
for free?
I still remember the first incident of this where it was just myself, this person, and another one of my friends. We were working in a lab, computer lab, and I had this bag of almonds. Like the friend and I, when we always studied or do anything, would have some sort of snack and just share it between the two of us, and we just eat it. So I put it on the table and like, hey, do you want some? And he's trying to say, oh, these are really good. So the bag's finished because the three of us just ate it all that one day. And our next session, I see him every now and then. It's like as we're sitting three in a row in the lab at the computer, he's bending over to reach for something in his bag and then coming back up and then turning away and discreetly chewing on something. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Maybe he's taking a pill and just doesn't want to draw attention. So I'm like, I'll just carry on. But as I'm getting up to go get something from the printer, I noticed the same packaging of the same nuts that I had. But he's not sharing. Yeah, there's no... He's like, these are mine. It's in his bag, out of the way. He's the only one eating them. It's just odd and like weird. Like in a group. I don't know if he thinks that we're just too... Like we cannot see what he's doing. Like he's invisible. But it's just so strange.
Oh, God. That is exactly a line, like a plot device out of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Where he shares your nuts and eats them, a third of the bag with you guys.
Yeah.
And then the next time, he has his own nuts and he eats them secretly and sneakily out of his bag, thinking you guys won't notice that he has these secret nuts.
And normally I'd be like, hey, bro, what the heck? But this person, after spending a little bit of time with him, I wasn't quite sure what the reaction would be, whether or not he was stable.
He did not seem like a stable individual, that was for sure. There were other times where he like lost his shit. I can't remember details. It's fuzzy, but I don't know if you started talking about it or if someone else started talking about it, I think I would have a flashback and remember exactly what went down. But I have in my head some meltdowns that he had.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So you gotta keep your distance. So I'm like, some split second decision making. Do I confront him about these nuts or do I just let it slide because I don't know what he's gonna do? What else is in that bag? So I'm like, all right, we'll carry on. I'll remember this though.
Is it Isha who has the story?
The food
where
yes.
he
with
I think you remember it better.
A group of people, I think 7 of us, were studying, and I volunteered. I'll go pick up food because it's getting around that time. I took everybody's order, and once again, you asked this person, "Do you want anything?" "No, I'm good. We're cool." All right. Everybody pitches in their money. I'll go pay for it, pick it up, and then bring it back. Isha's got, like, she happens to be sitting next to him, and as we're all eating, he's just like staring at it longingly. And it's kind of awkward because like, what do? You don't just like, you're all eating. It's like, hey man, do you want some? I still remember his face, even though it was like 10 years ago now. He's saying, like he's contemplating it, even though he just wants to blurt out yes. And she like goes to like give him this plastic fork. He says, "Oh no, I'm good." And he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a metal fork. It's like, I'm prepared.
I've got my own fork.
Yeah, I've got my own fork.
I'm ready to go. I came prepared.
So he takes the container, Chinese food, and proceeds to eat it. But then, normally you take a couple bites or whatnot, or even just a bite, and then pass it back to the person you borrowed from. You wouldn't put it to the other side, continue working, and then snack on that same container. And Isha, the person who gave the food, is just sitting there without her food, thinking like, what the heck is going on? This guy just stole my dinner right from me. And it was really awkward because the rest of the room noticed and then started giving parts of their food to Isha because she didn't have anything. It's just so awkward that, and then this guy and he ate the whole thing.
Unbelievable. But it happened.
Oh, I'll never forget that. That was so weird.
How did he get away with this? Because, for context, you and I and these other friends that we're mentioning all studied chemical engineering, which is just a pretty difficult undergraduate major that takes a lot of effort and time. And basically, if you don't have a group of other people that you can depend on to work with, you're screwed. You can't. There's no way that you can get done all of the projects and homeworks and everything like that without depending upon a strong network of other people to get help from.
Some of them are meant to do in groups.
Yeah, right. I mean, some of them are designed to be in groups. So you have such an incentive to really be a cooperative part of a group of people, and you share and you give, and when you fall behind a little bit and you need to take, so to speak, and get stuff from other people or whatever, you're not dipping into the well more than your fair share.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a basic, that's hard coded into our brains.
You think?
After millions of years of hunting and gathering in these small, nomadic groups of people where you had to be a team player if you wanted to survive. This is deeply human stuff.
Yeah.
Which some people apparently don't have.
It may not that he doesn't have it, because there's always one person who's the ruler. What if he thinks he's that person?
I don't see how he can think he's that person.
He might. And he just thinks that we're supposed to help him and serve him.
Looking back, I think that we probably let him off the hook more than we should have.
Because of his stability. That's the reason.
He really, I think, made people uncomfortable. Because I can remember, the only person who I remember really calling him out and getting into an argument with him about this was Josh.
Yes.
Who I have to applaud for being willing to do that.
Yes. But he's also a pretty tall guy. And
He's my size. I don't remember. I think this was a Jimmy John's situation.
I thought it was pizza and breadsticks.
Maybe it could be. I don't remember that details. I just remember Jimmy John's was a staple. So you're probably right. It was probably something like pizza, more shareable. And this was a situation of he had the opportunity to pitch in. So the option was given to him. He opted out. This was not like a oh, he didn't know about it and you feel guilty because it's oh, we got this pizza and he didn't know, and well, here, have some. He had to opt out of participating in this pizza financially. And then when the pizza came, he decided he wanted to opt into the pizza. And Josh...
Free opt-in.
And Josh pointed out to him that it was a bit inconsiderate.
Yeah, because there was 15 people in there, right?
Yeah.
He phrased it very nicely because he's that's really not cool that you're taking it now because you said you didn't want any. And he got very defensive.
He acted like Josh was the crazy person here.
Yeah. Classic. Yeah.
BJ'd.
Yeah, BJ'd, yeah. Oh, yeah, forgot about that.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the first episode of the show. If you liked it, the two most important things you can do are share it and subscribe. Thanks.